Hey everybody, this video is going to cover how to load and unload film from the Rollei 35. I've got with me on the table a Rollei 35 SE. There are a couple different variants of Rollei 35, so if you've got, say, a Rollei 35 just plain or a Rollei 35S, don't worry, the steps that I'm going to go through generically still apply to those variants as well, so you can still follow along. I've also got with me just a single canister of Kodak Tri-X 400 black and white film. Any 35mm canister will work though, so again, just whatever you got, just make sure you got the Rollei 35 and your film canister ready. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this because it's going to get in the way otherwise, and we're going to need it once we start advancing film, is I'm going to go ahead and deploy the lens. So I'm just going to lightly pull out on the lens, and then I'm going to give it a slight clockwise rotation. And you can see once it's locked into place, the aperture there opens up a little bit to whatever you've got the aperture set at, and that way we know the lens is locked in place. So once the lens is locked into place, I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around and flip it to the bottom. And on the bottom here, what we're going to be looking for is this back lock, which is this guy right here, this little lever with the silver nub on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open that. So just give it a little bit of pressure. It'll open. And now with that open, we can lay the camera on its face and slowly and gently pull off the backing of the camera. And I'm just going to set that off to the side for right now. So with the backing off, you can see the internals of the camera. This is where the film canister is going to go. We've got this little flap right here that covers the lens element. And when you flip this over, it can rest here just on its own. Just be careful because it's pretty delicate and you don't want to shear that off on accident. And then you've got your film collection spool over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our canister of film, place it in the film canister slot, and this doesn't lock in, so what you're going to have to do is just hold the bottom of that canister with your thumb, and we're going to go ahead and pull out some of the film just so that we've got a little bit to work with. We're going to flip that flap right back over and hold it in place just with our index finger. And what you're going to be looking for on the film collection spool right here is that slot with those arrows. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our film leader and we're just going to slide it right there into that slot. As you can see, it's slid in there nicely. And then we're going to use this little ridged winder here at the bottom, and we're just going to push that to the right. And what that's going to do is it's just going to get the slack out of the film off to the right there, and I'm just going to keep winding until I can't anymore. And I can't really go any further than that, but you can see it's wound it up nicely. Still got my finger holding this flap. I'm going to just transfer hands here, and then I'm going to go ahead and pick the film backing back up. Just make sure again that that back lock is still in the open position up there. And I'm going to take the backing, and there are grooves along each side of the camera, so just make sure the backing is sliding along in those grooves, which taking me a second here. Okay. There we go. And once you got it in those grooves, it'll slide up nicely. We've got it flush. Flip the camera back over, and we'll go ahead and put that back lock back in place. And now you can see the back is on. We're good to go. So now we're just going to advance the film. So just go ahead and make sure the shutter's been fired. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and advance it once. And if you flip the camera back over to the bottom, you'll see the film counter here. We're not at the first frame quite yet, so we're going to take another shot, advance, another shot, advance. And as you can see, we're at frame 1 now, and we're ready to go shooting. So just one thing to note too, because as you start taking shots, you might notice this. You can't actually collapse this lens unless you're on a new frame and the shutter has not been fired. So right now I'm on a new frame and the shutter has not yet been fired, and it's going to be no problem for me to go ahead and collapse that lens in and out, lock it back into place. But if I fire and I have not advanced the frame yet, you'll see I cannot actually collapse that lens. So what you'll just have to do is just make sure you're on a new frame and that the shutter has not been fired before you make an attempt to collapse the lens. And again, just collapsing the lens, all you got to do is use your little film collapse button right here, push it down, counterclockwise turn when you're collapsing it, and then just slightly pushing it in. So I'll go ahead and pull it back out. And now what I'm going to show you all how to do is how to actually unwind the film. So let's just say we've gone through, we've shot a little bit. All right, there's good. Let's just pretend we're on the last frame. I know we're only on 8, but let's just pretend we're on the last frame and we're ready to wind it up. All you've got to do is use the film reverse lever right here. It just slides to the upwards position. We can pull out our rewind lever here, which just folds open. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to follow the direction of that arrow, and we're going to spin that in a clockwise direction. And if you listen, you can actually hear when the film releases from the collector over here and is wound back into the roll. So yep, I just heard it and felt it there. We can stop winding, put that back in place, and then what we're going to do is just open our lever, pull the backing off, and as you can see, the film's been wound up, and we're good to go and send that off and either develop it ourselves or send it off to the lab. So I'll just set that to the side, putting this back on, locking it back into place, and there you have it. So I hope that video was helpful. Stay tuned to the channel because in the future I'm going to be posting some more camera models, just going through the loading and unloading steps, as well as doing some more in-depth reviews of certain film cameras and just sharing some results that I've gotten and just some tips and techniques. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you soon.